Let's rock.
Check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? Let's do a sound check. What's going on, Coach Paul?
Check. How you doing, Coach Jay? The star of Topstep TV today. Great job, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks.
You executed it like we do it here. Just I was smiling. Great job.
Hold on one second, Coach. Are we hearing a reverb with Coach Paul's audio right now, or is it fine? The music I understand might have been a little weird. If you guys don't know, I was telling Coach Paul before we got on here uh, that right after fast markets, I had to run out and buy a new computer. My bulldog that we all heard snoring during fast markets decided to lay on top of my computer, and it had some issues towards the end of fast markets. So, as much as I love her, she's no longer allowed in this office. Uh, no longer allowed under this desk.
Oh, don't
Um,
throw her under the bus,
yeah,
Coach.
it's either that or I'm gonna throw her out of the house. So. Uh,
No.
she no longer allowed in the office. Had to replace the computer. So getting things set up technically from there. And let's see if she'll eat dinner tonight. That'll be fine. But welcome everyone
Oh no.
to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep Performance Coach for a little over a year, been trading for the past 12 years, and been in the futures markets for the last 5. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I also have been with Top Step for about 15 months as a performance coach. I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades, traded many different contracts, also traded a lot of options, and I'm here to help um, with some experience and perhaps some wisdom.
So, well, thank you for that, Coach. Let's go over the top percentage movers on the day, and then we'll get into what the news was for the day. To the downside, we have the Ultra Bonds down 1.28%, wheat futures down 2.2%, and nat gas, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, at 4.48%. To the upside, we have the Russell up 1.42%. Uh, Coming in at number 3, actually, was crude oil, 1.14%, and the Nikkei up 2.45% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. For the 4 major markets that we trade, we already talked about crude, 1.13% to the upside, the Nasdaq 1.13% as well. The S&P's 0.86%, and where's gold on this list? Gold, the only one down out of the major 4, down 0.29% for rounding out the big 4. Coach, we had some news that everyone was waiting on today. We
Oh,
finally got it. We
oh,
had
the big. Yeah, go ahead.
go, you go. I'm handing this one off to you.
Okay, non-farm payrolls. It showed a stronger than expected increase in job growth with 254,000 jobs added. This exceeded the forecast of 150,000. Was kind of a
It's-
shocking number.
yeah,
In addition, yeah, and additionally, the unemployment rate dropped from 4.1, excuse me, to 4.1 from 4.2. And yeah, also we talk about revisions of previous months. That was even more bullish. and that revision from July to August increased total job gains by 72,000 in that period. So, extremely favorable economic numbers. Um, the, the biggest gainers were leisure and hospitality plus 78,000 jobs, healthcare plus 72,000, and construction plus 25,000. Um, very, very healthy numbers, and it reflected in the movement. Um, so we'll go over that soon. But that's the headline news. The headline news of the week. We've been waiting and coiling, and guess the market liked it.
Yeah. So a really big, you know, miss on that forecast uh, for that non-farm number. I was reading a little bit about it, Coach. I'm not an economist. I'm just a trader. But with that strength in the labor market, because that's what that number is saying, and the Fed just cutting rates, does that mean anything for the economy as a whole? For what the Fed might have to do going forward? Any ideas,
Well,
or we're traders? And I'm okay with that
what
answer too.
was one of the biggest? Yeah, what was one of the biggest downside contracts today? The ultra bond,
Bonds.
30-year
Mm.
bonds were, and we've talked about that very heavy action, and the bonds were down a full point, which is a pretty decent move, and finished lower without any kind of responsive buying. So th- the fact is that the interest rate markets um, did not like that number. So can that I mean even the 10-year was down a point. So the shorter end relatively weaker than the longer end. And so we've been talking with interest rate expectations, not positions. Um, so much for the quarter point cut. Um, we will see. We've got a few more weeks before another FOMC, but um, I don't, that changed the maybe a no cut. Um, so
To see,
big moves all around.
yeah, definitely. You and Coach Hoop were talking about yesterday the potential for the Treasuries to have a big move today, and that's exactly what happened. So, Coach Hoop, hopefully you were in that trade because a really nice call there. But let's get into the equity markets. Uh, Still kind of violently, I shouldn't say unchanged because we did end a percentage point up, but we're still very much in the range that we've been in. I'm looking at the ES Coach on a 30-minute chart. We had the large sell off on uh, new computer things. I'm gonna have to adjust my fibs again. There we go.
Oh, the joys of getting a new computer.
Right. Uh, so we had that large sell-off early on in the week on Tuesday. We talked yesterday about the possibility of reclaiming 50% of that, and then trading up above it. That 200 moving average on the 30-minute chart was also pretty much right at 50% of that sell-off range. Uh, and the move kind of started overnight. I did do slow markets last night in place of Dakota, and we talked a little bit about the equities. Oh, come on, now I'm gonna sit here and try to find stuff the whole time. Where is the rectangle? There it is. All right. We talked about the equities leaving this Globex session opening range. Coach, this is a trade that we look at all the time. And
Yes, and that's the first half an hour bar, by the way.
first half an hour, we left it and didn't necessarily look back for the entire session. We'll make this line yellow so we can actually see it here. Not black. But yeah, left that range pretty early in the S&Ps. Never really looked back. We did have some pullbacks later on in the session, but coach, this was a
Yes.
market that was just moving up to the upside pretty much all day.
Well, you said last night, and by the way, we have to, after this, I want you to go through that great read that you saw today, and
Sure.
we'll talk about, markets move both ways, and Coach had a great trade on the short side of a market that rallied the 1%. And but starting last night, it made the low off the bat, held that first half an hour's range, as we've seen before when VWAP leaves that range, which was a small range relatively, right? So they had that was a rare opportunity to take very little risk for big reward. Um, so we rallied hard, came back off. I think it was in London, most likely, came back and tested that range. Um, Coach, you have the patience to wait for those. I suffer through it. Whatever.
You have the risk appetite to set your stop on the other side of the range and say, hey, you know what, I'm good with this location and I'm going to let the trade work. So I kind of wish I had
Yeah,
that.
I don't like to trade. I like to make well,
I hear
from
you.
my experience, I don't like to trade really. I like to
Right.
make money. And the way it works for my process is I want to know how much I'm willing to lose and let it go. The more I trade, the less I make. But that's me personally. But with this one, we once again it comes back, checks it, and then never. Oh yeah, it did look back into that number where we had the number, and we talk about this all the time, Coach. What do we say before a big number? Don't trade in front of it. We're day traders. Day trading in front of a number. Let's say you did buy it. Good on you. But your risk, you were right, but the risk involved, if you sold it and you didn't stop out, even if you had to stop, you get, it doesn't mean you're going to get filled at that price because that was a pretty big move. Either way, um, once that candle was set, um, then we hand it off to Coach Jay and see what he did today.
Awesome. So this the NFP candle pushed up into 5800, which we know is a major psychological level in the ES. Everyone who's trading the ES is going to know when it is trading at 5800. So the way I'm looking at that level is, you know, such a major level, we're going to see a market reaction. We talked, a lot about maybe only framing your trades around whole number levels because you get to see the market's true reaction to it, right? Everything else in between can be fake, but if the market is going to push up above 5800, we're going to need to see a buyer come in and do it. And if we look at the volume, after the push, this is a 3 minute chart now. After the push, volume pretty low, which we expect, it's before New York session opens. So after that news event, volume is going to usually be a little bit lower. And a lot of times we'll see this exact move, right? Where we get this float, we test it back down towards, the base of that news candle, floated up on low volume. But once New York session opened up, and I was actually in a short on the Nasdaq before we got on fast markets, but I know we like to trade the S and P's in the house account. And Hogue, in the green room is saying, "Hey, what about we take this opening range breakout trade as soon as the market opens?" Because I think he was seeing the same thing. This rejection at 5,800. We took that trade initially on a 1 minute, and you guys know I use a 3 minute chart, but I was defaulting to Hogue on this one because, and I actually liked it, right? I think I said it, said Hogue. I think today is a day where I would use the 1 minute because it felt like it was going to happen a little bit quicker. Uh, but same idea, right? We're taking opening range breakout. We got short at 57.89, and our idea was we're going to risk the highs of the opening range. And in hindsight, our stops should have been outside of the news candle, right? Hogue said it as well. When he goes with, opening range trades, he usually gives the high of the opening range a couple of points because of this wick that happens. but we can see it when we tested up towards the high of the opening range. Volume was still, and I'll make this a different color so we can actually see the line, but volume was still in the middle of the range and not following price higher. So I'm looking at this. I still really like the trade, but we got ticked out just with poor stop placement. Coach, you mentioned ATR stops all the time, and we had a little group call after, not a group call, but just a group chat after Fast Markets was over. And I said, "Hey, I work with Coach Paul every day," and he says, "Use a 2 ATR stop." Now, how long am how many times am I going to have to hear that before I actually implement it in these house account trades? After today, that's probably the last one. So on a 3 minute chart, I enter all my trades on a 3 minute. The 3 minute ATR was 5 points. So two ATRs would have been 10. 10 points would have put us above the high of the news candle. And we likely, because I said I was targeting settlement on this trade, we likely have a $20,000 trade there, right? So it's a just like football, game of inches. The markets are a game of ticks, and we got to pay attention to where stops should go based on market structure. And I think we did. We used some market structure. We used, the opening range high, but it could have gone a little bit higher and been a reasonable stop. Where has the market not traded above 5,800? The stop should at least be there, right? So, but on that, we did get back into the trade. The market sold off pretty much right after we got stopped out. 10 minutes later, 12 minutes later, we had a trade that would have been 12 points in our favor. And at this point, like all humans are going to do, we're looking at this and saying, damn it, we missed it, right? That was the one we had. We got stopped out. Uh, but what we did have later on was that VWAP leaving the range to the low, right? When we initially took the trade, VWAP was still in the middle, but when we got stopped out, we had a bounce. VWAP is now sloping down and to the right. So at this point, I'm saying, hey, there's another opportunity. We've seen this trade happen so many times in market recaps. So, I'm looking at this as a potential short again. Originally, I was going to get short 70. Uh, 70, yeah. Originally, we were looking at short 70. And if you guys have been joining at the buzzer, you know exactly why short 70 was a terrible trade idea. Uh,
Why
and if
is
you
that,
don't,
Coach?
we are we would have been selling in the Shark Tank, Coach. We at this
Eh,
point, this entry was 3 ATRs away from volume. So was there the potential for the market to keep dropping? Yes, but we've also seen this many times, and I've told you guys, right? Be patient here. Do not allow yourself to say, "Hey, I missed the trade," so then you just want to jump in. Allow the market to return to VWAP, and then if you still like the trade, then you can take it short there. The one thing we don't have on this chart, and I'm going to put it on now, is the anchored VWAP from that FOMC, sorry, NFP. Uh, but we bounce. So I said originally I said, "Oh, can we go short 70?" Asked him to pull it, then said 73. Even still, 73 was a little bit too far. And the idea was, hey, we can get a better price than what we're trying to chase right now. Allow it to pop up. If it didn't do it, then okay, I'm okay missing that trade. But it popped back up to this anchored VWAP, and at this point, we're looking to sell. Uh, Dakota mentioned it, position sizing. We should have sold 100 contracts, but we didn't. We got into a small position and we managed the position well, added to a winner as it was going down, and the target on that trade was eventually settlement. And settlement down here at 57.49 half is where we wicked to. So eventually we got on the right side of the market, got into a short. ENL wise, it didn't look the greatest because we were in a smaller position than we probably could have been. But execution wise, that's exactly what the market presented. From there, we did take a couple more trades. We took a long. We can see this anchored VWAP giving another opportunity to take a short, right? Bounce off a settlement. We revert to it. Dakota was looking for a long here, and I think we just didn't catch it. But then we pushed back up to that anchored VWAP from the New York session open and give us a second opportunity for a trade, and that's another 24-point trade. One we could have taken, but we didn't. But when I'm reading these, and hopefully you guys are seeing this as well, as we keep doing these recaps, another opportunity to take the same trade. Eventually, we did get long. Dakota seeing a 3-bar reversal down here off of this off the lows for the day. Coach, you had a pivot somewhere down here. You messaged me while we were in the trade. Where was that pivot?
50, 57.50.
57.50. If you check the
Um,
Top Step daily levels, these levels go out before the markets open. And Coach Paul had a pivot on there. Myself, Coach Paul, Coach Vince, Coach Ray, Coach Jack, and Hogue are putting levels on this Top Step daily levels page every day. I would suggest, even if you don't use it for trade ideas, just areas that we think the market has the potential to trade to, just have them up there, right? Even if you just use the Top Step daily levels, the Top Step levels indicator on Top Step X, it's a great way to get an idea of where the coaches are looking for the market to potentially trade to. Now, these are not suggestions to take trades, but areas of opportunity that we think the market can trade to. And I might be biased, but I think we're pretty damn good at what we do. Uh, so really nice pivot down there, coach. 57.50. We bounced pretty much right off of it. Um, and back up to VWAP. Come down again, and I got a message from Coach Paul saying, "Hey, the pivot's holding. We may trade back up towards the highs at these 57.50."
uh,
So Dakota did get in this trade. We had a really nice one. And go ahead, coach. You were going to say something?
no, in that pivot, the VWAP stayed above it all for the since we talked since last night. So what I've noticed is if the volume is above that and we come and test that, it's it's weak selling until it holds. If VWAP was underneath it and touched it, I'd be more bearish. Or if I was long, I would get out there. That's one of the relative ways to use it. And like when I message you, it's got to close at least below it, and it never really closed. At least on the half-hour bar I was looking at, it looked like it never closed, even on the 3 minute. So seeing that double bottom, and I got to give it. Coach Dakota nails the 3 bar reversal. I learned something. Uh, To get a 3 bar reversal off a level, uh,
The trade.
get on it.
Yeah. So I
It's
actually, and I like how the coach Dakota and I, coach, you had mentioned this before about, especially with this, trade by committee process, one of us looking at the long side, one of us looking at the short side. It helps for setting, profit targets where if Dakota's in a long, I'm saying, hey, I might want to short the market, but I can't just say sell it here just because I want to sell it. It has to be in a good spot. And that might be where you might want to take profits. And the same thing the other way. I did get a little bit aggressive, try to short in the hole again, looking for this breakdown of the daily lows, which clearly did not work out. And then when we had that 3 bar reversal pattern, that's when I just hand the ball to Dakota and say, you know what, talk us through a long trade, and I'll let you know where we might have some rejections up at the highs. So I think really well done on the house account process. Some proper position sizing. That P&L looks a lot different than what it did at the end of the day. Uh, but the process overall was great. Um, VWAP from the low, coach. VWAP from the low. Uh,
We've
Low of the day
watched that
here.
before.
It was
I
a little.
just whatever the low is, right? You put a VWAP and it's got to hold it. If it doesn't,
Right.
then you're out.
Yeah.
Uh,
So why I took the shorts at this low here was because we popped above this VWAP from the low, rejected at the New York session, and then settled below it. So I was looking for a potential failure and continuation lower here. We just never got the momentum to do it. Today was pretty much just a big range bound day. After that, we started to settle above it, and we can see how many times now that acts as a support for potential buys.
yeah, that was really powerful move. One of the things that I like to do, if you catch that, right, and you have the VWAP, you get a potential for a runner. And like I said, I put stops in a way when I'm willing. It's like if on a runner, I said I put a stop to new lows or one ATR below the low, so it's for real, not just nervousness, and walk away. Um, Easier said than done, but it's a great practice. Um, Even if you're just using a micro or 2 micros, it's a good practice, something that can really help bolster your bottom line. I really liked today when you said, "Well, you wanted to sell it, and you had the rally," and you said, "No, move it up, move the sell up," because you knew that if I'm going to sell it, I want to get it close to volume.
I couldn't come in
I was
here
so happy. I was,
I couldn't come and do this recap and say, "Hey guys, we sold at 70, got stopped out before the eventual move," uh, because we know shouldn't say no better than that, but we know that trade location matters. And Coach Vince, I agree that this short, I still would take that trade. The one thing I would fix about this, and we talked about it, Dakota was looking for a long at 64, and we were pretty much going to do a handoff, right? He was going to take the long at 64, then I was going to sell at 75. I wish we took this sell at 75. And I think part of the reason I said sell down here, because I was thinking about missing this trade and truly did think that, the momentum was going to push us lower. Uh, the right trade location, we could have made money to that position. And then if they were ready to continue selling, then we would have made money with the sellers if they continued to push. So that's the only thing I don't like about this. I still like the idea, and I'm okay with the percentage of time that my ideas don't work out. Uh, but
yeah,
to the upside, we just got to push
it's
right back
called
up to
trading.
50. Yeah, yeah. 5,800. We pushed right back up to 5,800. Didn't close above it for a large range day, and it's pretty much it. The sell off that we had on Tuesday, I think we pretty much closed it 58.10. No, we didn't close it all the way, but close enough.
Well,
Close enough. We'll see what happens.
you know, for the week, it was kind of violently unchanged, but we don't trade once a week. We trade in a moment, and it was good opportunities day. Also, good opportunities to manage your downside, even if you were selling it, as we witnessed in this talk right now. Coach, while we have it, just let's look at the weekly and the daily since it is Friday.
Weekly up here, weekly,
Okay,
and I'll put up the
so
moving averages as well.
it's the 50 and down below the 20.
200s
Look
somewhere
at
in
this.
the abyss.
Nothing, nothing bearish there.
Not at all.
Um, to me, that's a structure. We're just moving higher, whatever the news is. um,
We're
that
kind of shrugging
structure
it
is
off.
not. Yeah, it is. So, and we closed near the high of the week.
We did,
Monthly,
right? This is a daily.
yeah,
This is a daily. We did close near the highs of the week.
yeah.
Highs of the week, we did have that. Nope, that was going back to last week. All time highs 58.32. We are less than a half a percent away from the all time highs, which very easily could happen next week. If we look at the daily and the weekly candles, this looks very bullish. All right. Anything else on the ES? I want to go to the NASDAQ
It's
really quick.
interesting. Well,
Go ahead,
one
coach.
thing on that daily, what did we go down to? The 20-day moving average and held and rallied off of that.
Yep.
Um, and that's it.
That's it. Let's look at the NASDAQ. Very much the same story. We'll look at the daily. Doesn't look as strong as the ES. Maybe has some catch up to do. Where in the NASDAQ, we are still about 5% off the all-time highs, where ES we're a lot closer. NASDAQ has some room to catch up, which is great, right? Where we might get some bigger moves out of this. If we go back down to a 30-minute chart, the sell-off from Tuesday looks very much the same. It's the exact same market. We did have a close above this 200 moving average on the 30-minute coach. Um, and during
What's
slow
that?
mark, 200 moving average, that white line. And
Okay.
I love it on the 30-minute chart. It looks great on the 30-minute. Give me 1 second. Let me go to Globex open. I'm gonna remove. And if you guys have any questions in the chat, please put them in there. Andrew, thank you as always for sending those over. And there it goes. If you guys remember in slow markets last night, we were talking about potentially buying this because of this break of this range. I think the trade that I took, although in a combine, 19,980 was the long, and again that long was based off of you know VWAP breaking this range, price leaving the range as well. We came back, checked that same price in London, and coach, same thing. You could have held your stop below a new low and had a great day, right? We talk about this a lot. A close below VWAP, and to be honest with you, if I was in a long and still held through this, I'd be out of that position before we even got anywhere close to VWAP. Uh,
Well,
but
interestingly, it hit the second resistance level
okay,
on my daily numbers, um, which I had a few micros on, and I got out of two of them up there. You're right. If you get that, let's see and let's think about it. What's the chances? I mean, it's probable, but not. It's possible, not probable, to continue at that rate. Um, Best to take
sustainability.
some money and put it in your pocket and look for another place to buy it. We've talked about it. I only look on one side, so actually, I kept that extra. I felt some pressure, but this goes back into trading and risk management. Put on a trade, be comfortable with the risk, and put it on. It's just, and if you're not, I'll tell you what, if you don't put a stop in somewhere down in your subconscious mind, you're not really comfortable. You're not, I shouldn't say comfortable, you're not accepting the risk. I struggled with that for years. And it comes down to this: I don't want to be wrong. Is really what really what we do when we do that. So, um, yeah, actually, that was a great sell up there, right? I
Well, yeah,
mean,
yeah, it definitely
turn
was,
that
right? We
turn that
came up to
upside down, and it's a bull market.
the highs of that sell-off, rejected at it, and really nice turn. It's pretty much the same trade as the S&Ps. I think that's enough on the equities. We spent a lot of time here, but really good trades, really good opportunities. I saw Coach Vince in the chat, calling out some shorts he was taking as well in the ES. Coach, were you in that short that we were in originally? Because I know Coach Vince was in the green room getting ready to come on Top Step TV, and I'm looking at it. I was like, I feel like Vince is in this trade also. But let's move over to gold. Gold on a 30-minute.
Boy, gold is not acting like its old self.
No, it's not.
I mean, but here's what are the factors of gold. It's not just fear index. It costs money to hold gold. And I'm not talking about a gold watch. I'm talking if you have $1 million worth of gold, you're not putting it under the bed, right? You have to store it. All right. That costs money. You have to forego any interest because, that's so I think the short term interest rates are pressuring gold. Um, and I found it interesting, central bank buying gold was predominant in the last year. Um, with China making their uh, play this week um, t- excuse me, to stimulate their economy. They're large holders of gold. I wouldn't be surprised if they're starting to release a little gold out and then to pay for the stimulus. It just has that feel because it didn't act. It did rally. It had in the hole and it rallied and immediately dropped $15. Kind of broke the pattern.
Absolutely. Consolidating a little bit here. Coach, you got a comment from his Royal Trades. So you're telling me after 40 years, you feel the same way I do after 7 years. None of us want to be wrong. I don't want to be wrong. Yeah, I
Right.
never want to
By
be
the
wrong.
way,
It's gonna happen, but I don't want it to happen.
Yeah, you don't. And you have to be comfortable playing enough poker, right? You, it's managing probabilities and risk. And yeah, you're always. By the way, you're human. You're going to struggle with that. That's what I think is the core of trading. It's like, oh, come on, be no. Think about if you have a favorite team. You know, you live and die by that. By the way, I grew up as a Cubs fan. I went through a lot of pain um, until I said, I really don't care. I don't care. I have nothing in it. Yeah, I want to see them win, but it doesn't change my life. And that kind of attitude helps in trading. Like, okay, I'm willing to take this risk. What happens is the doubt creeps in if it because as a trader, we want instant gratification as a human. We're designed for that. So yeah, great point. Yeah, I still struggle with it. I want that money now. Um, the way I've developed is like, okay, I'm willing. I'm paying. It's like going to the grocery store. I want this product. I want this steak. Oh shit, that steak is $25, but man, it's big and it's good and that's what I want. So I'm willing to pay for it. Kind of the same thing in trading. I want that big. I want the winner. Well, it doesn't come for free. You have to take some risk. Be comfortable and accept it, and then move on.
So there was opportunity in gold today. It was very choppy. On that news, we kind of set the low. NFP print here could have done the same thing. Could have anchored a VWAP there. It was in the middle of the range. So we talked about this. Extensions from this VWAP when it's flat are opportunities to fade the extremes of the range, and that's what gold did today. VWAP never left that range, so any pushes outside were opportunities to fade. Uh, Let's go to so we had some questions in the chat. Let me get to some of those before we go too far. Line is rain. If you draw a channel on the, I guess it's not really a question, it's a more of a statement, but if you draw a channel on the NQ like Coach Ray does, you'll see we stayed nicely in that channel all day from 7 p.m. to close. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it kind of just channeled up and to the right, presenting some really, really good opportunity. Uh, and then could you just give a brief opinion on what type of market you view gold, more ranging or trending? What would you say, Coach?
Well, it's trending on longer term. On let's look at the daily. That's where I get the trend. So that trend is still bullish. So in the intermediate term, we're ranging. Um, I mean, but that's almost a parabolic rise. And when you get parabolic rises, you get parabolic reversals. Um, that's the nature of markets and especially commodities versus stocks. So, still bullish, but like I mentioned earlier, the the action was a little different than we've been seeing for the last couple months. Like when it gets in a hole, it just rips to new highs. Um, Now looking at that daily, it's flattening out. This week we've gone sideways. And we can do that for a while. We're holding the 20-day moving average, and which we have. So right now, intermediate, we're ranging. Overall, it's a bull market. How about you, Coach?
Yeah, no, I agree. If we're looking back, a couple of years, right? This is 2023, maybe more ranging, but for 2024, this has been a market that's just been running to the upside, and markets are going to go through different phases. But for right now, pretty much all year 2024, gold has been on a rally. If I was to look at this right here, where we're slowing down a little bit, and just compare it to something that we've seen, this here, right, when we made all-time highs right around 2,500, kind of based out, tested that 20 moving average on the daily, consolidated again before we continued the run. Maybe that's what's happening here, where this rally might just be getting a little bit tired, and we'll see this start to flatten out, allow the moving averages to catch up a little bit, and then continue from there. But Great Filibuster says trade a reversal back to the 200 moving average on the daily. That would be a hell of a trade. Uh,
That can, by the way, anything can happen, right?
yeah, yeah, that would be an amazing trade.
I don't, I don't think it's not probable, but it's definitely possible.
That's how names are made, right? Where you see something no one else does,
Right.
you take the short, and you stick to it, and hopefully you have the margin to do so as well. Let's go over to crude oil. Crude on a daily
Well,
at
we can,
the white line, coach.
it's it's at an inflection point, right? It's had a great rally this week off of that news, but if peace happens to break out in the Middle East, we could see it right back down to where we started. But we slowed down today with a small range. I know because I've been long that and I bought some puts to hedge it, and I lost the volatility in the crude oil got hit by 8% today. So,
Like the
some
crude VIX. Is
which
that what you're
the
talking about?
crude VIX was,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, it was down about 8%, 8, 9%.
Oh wow.
So, what does that mean? There was a premium, risk premium in options because what we're still a couple days off from the missiles being launched into Israel. And now we're going we while we rallied today, we really didn't explode. So the expectation or the risk, the insurance was probably in vol terms was looking for a possibility of a $5 move. So when it's that high of a premium, every hour counts. It's like if it's not going to, especially in the short dated options, every hour is $100 in risk premium. So I bought some 25 Delta puts, which I ended up losing more than I made on the upside in the crude. Um, that's how much volatility can change. But I don't think anyone wants to get a big position over the weekend in crude with hurricanes and missiles. So look where we're at. We're right on that 50 and the 20. We're rested right in there. We had a big candle down. Um, so Monday or Sunday night could be a pretty big move. Um,
What time have we got? What time is it? All right. We got about 15 minutes.
boy, this goes fast.
Yeah, this did go pretty fast. But we do still have 15 minutes left. Crude again presented some nice opportunities as well. If I'm looking at this is that Globex 30-minute opening range. Pretty much any market that you trade, right? If you look at it this way, we had VWAP left the range, price came back to it. Really nice opportunity to take some trades there. Uh, Hopefully, that's something that you can add to your playbook, and we'll go from there. Coach, any other markets that you want to talk about or chat? Any questions that you guys have? It is Friday, so if we want to leave 15 minutes early, that's okay too. Uh,
Japanese.
there we go. Japanese yen.
Let's start with the daily.
This is wow. Look at this.
Yeah, I short armed that earlier in the week, and I'm going to reflect upon that all weekend long. I got ticked out because, coach, I went to a one ATR instead of a two ATR stop
You
overnight
told me that. Yeah. Yeah. It's not
on a
like
one
you.
lot. It's not like me. I was nervous. Well, here we go. My premium was, I don't want to, missiles are flying. Well, anyway, I did the one. I got ticked out literally by a tick. Um, so anyway, let's look at that daily. Is that the daily?
It's the daily. Yep.
So we've had that big rally off that low from what was that in June, July?
July 11th, the infamous day that changed the
The
markets, changed
infamous,
every markets.
yes, yep, July 11th. It, um, so look at that big rally, and it looked beginning of the week. It is, it still had legs. But where did we go right back to this week? The 200-day moving average, and I think we settled right on it. I think here's the scouting report. This has the potential to make a big move to the downside. It's why I say that the longer term trend is still down even after this crazy rally. Um, and we're in the fourth quarter, and look what the moving average went sideways, right? It recovered, found balance, and we got a lot of shorts out and maybe even some new longs on the fund side under that 200 moving average, which now it ticked down. Um, you tell me, does that look healthy? Does that look like something you want to own?
Looks
Or-
like, if we're going back, you said this downtrend has been, pretty consistent going back almost 3 years now. It looks like this here, where we made a recovery over the 200 for a little bit, came back and tested it. We did get a bounce from it, but ultimately it was a continuation of that downtrend. Yeah, so this is not something I would be looking to own. Definitely not.
So I think I'm going to be looking for a place to sell it on a rally. Um, yeah, I'm still recovering from not being sure. That was a
You'll get
swing
another one.
trade. Let me tell you, it's. I mean, we talk about being able to handle winners. Here's another thing: missed trades can haunt you. They can haunt you like in your subconscious mind. It can create. I got to make that back.
Happened today.
I got to do, and then you right. It happened today. I have to make that back, and that's a dangerous area. So like I said, I haven't traded it. I had other opportunities to sell it, but I'm in a bit of a shell shock. Like, dude,
So
one tick
that's
cost me $3,000.
That's a really good point, coach, that I don't think we talk about often. And what you just said is, I think, uh, trader maturity, for lack of better words, right? Where you got stopped out of a trade, saw it go in your direction, and instead of just jumping back into it, you said, you know what? That shell shock is keeping you out of a move that you probably wouldn't agree with too much, right? For example, we had the short today in the S&Ps, and Hogue and I both knew it was a really great trade, fit both of our trading, playbooks. We got ticked out, and you hear Hogue. Hogue has been doing this as long as you have, coach, and he's like, "Ah, we had one, we had it, right?" And it's just like you have to get back to the process when that happens, because we would have ended up selling at 70s in the S&Ps because we felt like we missed the move, right? So that having that patience, having that maturity to say, you know what, that one's gone, and if I take it here, it's not as much of a good trade. I think is amazing, right? And you develop that over time, where I know when you first started, you might have just jumped right back in it, and you could make money from that. But we know that the risk reward changes when we're getting in that trade a lot later than we should have been in. So it's a really good point. And like you said, now you're looking to sell a rally. You're not going to sell it in the hole here. Uh, you'll wait for the rally, and that same trade idea is still valid. The location still matters, though.
Yeah, it does, and that's part of it's like I said, when it all looks. I mean, when you're in the moment, when you're under pressure. So going back to Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the mouth. And how you react to that. Um, do you stay in your process, or do you start gambling to get back what you thought was yours? And that's a dangerous area. That's why I said I didn't trade it this weekend. I'll I'll meditate on it. Literally, I will. just get back into the flow. Um, yeah, and by the way, I have to accept sometimes that does happen. When we do back testing, we get every trade,
Every single one
right?
of them.
It, it,
Bottom tick,
every
top
single
tick,
one of them.
full size,
Yeah,
full
I got it.
allocation.
That stop really didn't happen.
Right.
So why we do this review is to go through our trades, to go through our process. It's all process driven, making decisions under pressure. Um, it's why I love coaching sports. Whether we're basketball, in all sports is the same. That's why I just mentioned Mike Tyson. Even we get people when we're struggling on Top Step TV, and then the gallery starts ripping people. That's pressure. And I glad which coach. I love what you said about that. Is like, come on in, put it on.
I mean, the team is mentioning almost every day opportunities for people to join. I don't know how many submissions we have, but we do have a lot of submissions of, you know, the peanut gallery, and that's not everybody, of course. Sometimes, I just have to address it. I don't know if I should be or not. I told Dakota maybe I just go back to not having the chat up while we're actively trading. But yeah, if anyone wants to get on TopStep TV to trade, it's a great opportunity, right? We've been talking about passing with the pros, but we are changing that segment up a little bit, and it's just going to be trading with Top Step. So you don't have to be close to passing a combine. You could be wherever you are in your trading journey. You could be in an XFA live account. If you want to trade on Top Step TV, uh, I will say, even with the chat and dealing with that, it is a great experience, right? Anyone who's done it can tell you it's really fun. Um, I enjoy it every time I get the opportunity to do it. It's pressure, but that pressure, you know, improves us all. So if you want to get on Top Step TV, trade with the Top Step TV team, fill out that form, and the team will get back to you from there because it's really good. Um,
Yeah, great point. Also, smash the like button.
yeah, make sure you do that
Um,
too.
okay, I got the plug in. Please do though. Well, please do if you like what you're watching. Even if you don't like it, hit the like button.
But anyway, it's just one extra click. Smokes the Tokes says about to take a $1,600 payout. Congratulations on paying
All
yourself.
right.
Coach, let's do a little rapid fire. We got about 7 minutes left. We got some questions in the chat that
Okay.
we can get to. Stacks Networks says, Coach, how do I stay humble? I have 5 XFAs doing 200. I'm guessing that's saying $200 a day. So $1,000 days, 5K a week, but I want to keep trading when I'm up. How do I stay humble? Want to take
It's
it?
hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. The old country song said. The fact that that's yours to me right now, that you're noticing that is a big part of that. Um, yeah, because my biggest losses came after absolutely monstrous wins. And and here's the thing: stay in the present, check it off. Um, it's by following your process and risk management, because what can happen when we're on top is we get the invincible. Like, one of the things to notice is you start letting losing trades get a little bit bigger, because you've
I'm good.
just been winning, right?
It's
Well,
gonna work.
it's I give it a little extra room. I got room. Notice that, shut it down. Maybe if you're feeling that and you see that, take a day off. Um,
Yeah,
check in, and remember, it's a process. Coach, how about you?
I 1,000% agree with what you just said. My biggest losses came after my biggest wins, and just flying a little too close to the sun, where you think you know better than the market, and there's a fine balance, right? Because we do have to have a lot of confidence in doing this, because you don't make money in these markets without confidence. But when that confidence kind of overspills, it can be a blinder. And the only time you start seeing clearly again is when the market says, "Hey, remember what's going on here, right? Remember who controls this, and it's not you. You control your account, you control your risk." The market has smacked me in the face a couple of times when I thought I knew better. So the fact, like Coach said, the fact that you're even asking the question is honest self reflection. If you're coming to your trading desk with that, be very careful.
Yeah, and I would add to that that's the difference between confidence and cockiness. You keep checking your ego, and keep checking it. What you just said, if you're not asking, how do I remain humble? If you're not being humble, you won't ask that question. What your mind process will start going is, oh, you'll go into the future of the money you don't have. Like, I keep up at this pace, I'll get the red Lambo and a green Benz. Things like that start entering your mind. Check it. Um, and you're going to go into a drawdown. Um, and if you stick with the process, at the hierarchy of the process is your risk management. Um, One of the things is if you start going into a drawdown, let's say you draw down 10% of your account, well, then you got to cut back on your size. That's one of the things that I had to do it over again. And when I have, okay, slow it down. I'm going to cut back on my size. I might go to half of my size just to get back into a groove. Um, but good work. Um, Keep that ego in check by doing the things you just did. Ask yourself and be prepared.
Let's see. AHZ trading. How do you use VWAP with the opening range? I'm going to do just a quick fire example of this. Let's see. I'm going to give you two examples. One in this is Nat Gas, which Coach Nat Gas opens at
Oh, the
7
volume
Central.
comes in 8 central, but the volume
Central.
starts coming in around 7 o'clock.
Cool.
That opening is suggestion because they came from the pit era, but
Right.
volume starts coming around 7 o'clock central.
7 Central.
Eight
Okay.
o'clock is the official. Yeah.
Perfect. So we're gonna say volume starts coming in at 8 Central. Sorry, 7 Central. And if I take off these moving averages so we can just see volume, what I'm gonna do is this is considered the opening range. I'm gonna attach a VWAP to it, and then I want to see volume's response to that range. So in this case, volume is leaving the range to the downside. And what's really awesome, you could do this in any market, find the market open, and over this weekend, just do this on 100 charts, right? Regardless of what the market is, and you'll see the response. The range, volume leaves the range, it's a trend to the downside. What does that look like in a market that doesn't trend? Uh, what didn't trend today? Uh, let's see.
Mm,
We got
good question.
very
Platinum, I
similar.
think.
Platinum, yeah, platinum is a good one. Very similar price action here, where we don't know that the market is going to look like this. It looks like this. When I see this, range is established and VWAP has not left that range, this is telling me either range bound market, range bound trade, where I'm fading the extremes, or don't touch it at all. What I like to do is wait until that VWAP leaves the range and then get an opportunity to sell somewhere near that VWAP or buy it when it is trending lower. All right. Couple quick more questions. Do you always stick to your trading plan? This is by far my worst problem. Michael, no, I don't. I don't. And I think it's important to know the consequences of not sticking to your plan. Um, but it's a decision to not do so. Go ahead, coach.
Oh, I always do, because in my career, when I don't stick to my plan, I get it's random. Random actions bring random results. So I've I want to, I want to, I want to. I've done it so many times, and I had to wallow in the disappointment of what the fuck did I just do, right?
Yep.
And that that puts it puts a dent in your spirit, right? Because you go back and like, who the hell made that trade? Oh, that was me. That wasn't part of the plan. So That's a struggle, what all traders have. So one of the things to help that is a back testing plan. If you haven't, I would do this in your practice account. Do that along with your trading account. In one of them, you have to just go with your plan. And when you back test, then you're comfortable of what to expect, because what happens if you're not getting what you expected, you change the plan, right? Well, if you ever, I know, as a Boy Scout when I was young, and how to use a compass and find your way in the woods, right? And if you just throw the compass away and say, well, I'm going to go this direction for a while, that's not working, I'm going to go back this way, you're not going to get any consistency. You're going to get randomized. It's the same way in trading. Develop a plan. Over time, in your experience, you'll stick to the plan, because not sticking to the plan over time hurts. So I can't see a bigger reason to do it.
And we have to remember too, what we do here is a very high performance endeavor, right? Think of any other high performer in the world, uh, and we make sports, comparisons all the time. They have a plan, and sometimes they don't stick to it. And when they don't stick to it, it's a loss, right? And it is what it is. So we have to, when we, even when we stick to our plan, sometimes we're going to have a loss, and that's why it's important to manage risk. But the times where we don't stick to the plan, we just have to know that those are going to not be great. Coach, when you call a play on the basketball court and one of your kids just wants to do something else, how often does that work out? He's like, yeah, I know Coach Paul called for a pick and roll, but I'm just going to shoot this three instead, right? Yeah, do it. Say what you want, Coach. Usually doesn't end up well.
Oh, yeah. I have a story for that. Yes. By the way, coaches do have favorites, and over time, you're going to pick the person that makes good decisions under pressure. What happens is, just like sports and trading, if I don't follow the plan and I just do something outside of that, and then and it, and it doesn't work out, I don't trust you, so I can't play you as much. So that's what happens with favorites. Oh, he doesn't play me, he doesn't like me. Well, let me see your stat sheet. So also review your stats over the weekend. See what's going on. Um, See if you're following your plan.
Absolutely.
I, I have one question from Will Ford. Do you
Yep.
trade 3 to 4 unit future option structures? Where I used to. The only time I use options now is on my swing trading, to hedge risk. Um, yeah, I know all of those. And I don't I don't position options anymore. I only use them as a tool for my swing trading. But
And then we got
one
one
last
more.
question,
This
Coach.
this will be the last one from Los Trades. Coaches, I find it that it's not as easy as it seems to be able to know when to cut the trade and when to let it develop. How do y'all handle this situation?
Okay,
Except the
one
Go
quick.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead, coach.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. But when you get in that trade, you have an expectation, right? Usually, as a human, our expectation is to make money. All right. And then those expectations create emotional turmoil when it's not going your way. Or if you're staring and it doesn't reach your target, and you're like, well, I'll just cut it short and I'll take the 100, and it goes 500, whatever it is. That takes experience, trust, and over time, you start trusting if you're consistent. You can't trust something that's not consistent. So, staring at every tick is not really good. I know that creates a lot of drama. That's why I'm going to hand this off to Coach Jay and say what you were going to say. I'll pass the ball to you.
I'm going to be echoing what I've heard from Coach Paul time and time again. Accept the risk before you put the trade on initially. Below, I'm going to say something you don't know, right? We truly don't know where the market is going to go. So you say you struggle with do I cut this trade? Do I just let it go? What I will say is whatever decision because you're not always going to make the right decision. I'm not going to be naive and say we are. None of us do. We're always going to cut trades that continue to go without us or hold on to something that we probably should have cut. Whatever you do, that is one decision. That's one decision in the multiple decisions that you're going to make in your trading career. Don't allow it to affect the next one. I used to tell my basketball players all the time. I coached my younger brother for 8 years. He would miss a shot, and if he was upset about how that shot missed, he would miss every other shot the rest of the game or not take another one. You can't do that. It's one decision. Don't put the weight of the world on one decision. And the way you do that is by trading a contract size that you can say, hey, well, if this one loses, I'm still in the game. Don't put that much pressure on one decision because you're going to make another one, right? And we don't want to allow uh hey, I should have sold here and now the market went without me to force us into a trade that we don't agree with, right? So trade reasonably for the size of your account so no one decision is going to have that much weight. And then you can just trade kind of freely.
Yes, coach, a shooter has no conscience.
Go
A
conscious
good
at all.
shooter, right? And that part is make that decision, accept the risk, and don't. I personally, like today, I'm long and I break on my swing trades. I'm I still feel some clenching going on, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yep.
but every time it's like, okay, stop me out. If you can't stop me out, that selling's got to come back and go my way. That didn't happen in a day or a year. Take some experience. One of the things to help that is under leverage at the beginning, so you can not
Gi-
have that anxiety.
just give your account some room to breathe. Uh
Great stuff. Great job today, Coach.
you
For
too,
everyone
coach.
else, have a great weekend. Review your stats. And touch what was it? Touch grass. Enjoy life.
We'll be in the deep in the series 3 book. Got an exam coming up this week. I don't know if I should have said that out loud, but I said it out loud. So I'm going to pass the series 3 exam next week. We're going to say it that way because I'm going to study my ass off this weekend. Everyone else get outside and do something fun though. I'll be in the books.
Enjoy the books, Coach.
Thank you, sir.
And
Uh,
everybody have a great weekend.
have a great one.